Let's go to the waiver wire. This upcoming week, March 13th, is Monday. We have 3 teams with only 2 games. That's Charlotte, New York, and Utah. So watch out if you're adding guys from those teams. Chris Dunn's been on a heater, but you got to be careful. He's on a second 10-day contract, and they have just 2 games. So keep that in mind. My first suggestion, we talked about him earlier in the show, Xavier Tillman of the Memphis Grizzlies, 40% rostered in Yahoo, 8% ESPN. Steven Adams, done for the year, done for the regular season. Brandon Clark has a torn Achilles. Past 7 games for Tillman, it's 11 points, 8 boards, 3 assists, 2 combined stocks, and shooting 56% from the field. Even if you're a little iffy on it, you're like, I don't know if he's a rest of season guy. Memphis has 4 games this week. Just add him this week for your roster and see if the production keeps up.
I'll also add Tillman, one of the oldest looking guys that's only 24. He looks like he should be giving nice advice at the hardware store,
Right.
And do not be worried about Tillman's 22 minutes against Golden State on Thursday night. That was a blowout. It was a 21-point victory. Memphis was up by like 20 points almost the entire game. Tillman would have topped 30 minutes again if it were a close match. The previous 3 games, he had 30, 34, and 32 minutes. So I do agree. As long as Adams and Clark are out, Tillman's going to see 30 minutes, 30 plus minutes per game.
3 double-doubles the last 6 games. And not so bad with blocks, not as many as you'd like. But if you need rebounds, Tillman's a great pickup.
He's more of a steals guy. He's undersized. He's 6'8", 245, so gets a lot more steals and blocks. Ken, who is your available in 50% of leagues player?
Well, first, fans, if you like our videos, please hit like and subscribe below. My available in 50% of leagues is Tari Eason of those Houston Rockets who we were just chatting up. He's managed in 49% of Yahoo leagues and only 12% of ESPN. The rookie's seeing 28 to 32 minutes a game over his last 7 games. Houston has 4 games next week. Look at the stat line for over the last 7 games. It's fairly consistent. Almost 14 points, 8 rebounds, almost 3 stocks, while shooting 54% from the field and almost a 3-pointer a game. As Shannon mentioned earlier, Houston's got nothing to play for. They should be giving the rookie as much run as he can take for his last 20 games of the season. I'm a big Tari Eason, and I still like Kenyon Martin. There's lots of minutes to be had on this terrible Rocket squad.
Yeah, just adding to that, Eason's averaging, his per 36 averages 16 and 10 with 3 stocks. Also his free throw percentage, 74.5% on the season. So even though he's taken a little bit of a dip recently at the free throw line, 75% is pretty solid for a rookie.
Yeah, it feels like Eason and Kenyon Martin are like the 2 guys who are actually driving winning on that team.
Yeah.
Like you watch them play and you're like, oh, these guys care. Like these guys are out here playing hard every night. So that's
he's not even taking two free throws a game. So honestly, if the free throw percentage dips, the volume's pretty low.
Absolutely.
Right. Shannon, who's your guy?
Yeah, my first guy is Cam Reddish. It remains to be seen what's going to happen when Anthony Simons returns to the rotation for Portland, which could be as soon as tonight. But I just, it's going to be Thibault or Reddish that's going to move to the bench. I'm optimistic that Reddish is actually going to stick around in the starting lineup. Like I said, we'll see. But Thibault's minutes have started to decline already, even before Simon's return, whereas Reddish has remained, locked in, playing over the past 4 games, 36.3 minutes per, 16 points, 5 rebounds, 1.5 steals, and also 3-pointers. That's kind of what he's doing for him. 2.5 3-pointers per game, shooting a decent percentage right now. He's on a bit of a heater for Cam Reddish. At least this is considered a heater with 46% from the floor and also 45.5% from downtown. Essentially all he does is take threes for this team, but scoring lots of points, grabbing a decent enough amount of rebounds to kind of give you that extra value outside of the 3-pointers he's hitting.
Yeah, I think I've done my fair share of Cam Reddish hate, but he's in a good role for this Portland team. Like again, like you mentioned, Shannon, they're not asking him to do too much. They're asking him to hit threes and play hard on defense. And I think that's where his fantasy value is ultimately going to shine through.
And I do think he's more of a small forward than a shooting guard as well. He's 6'8", he's got the size to play small forward. So I think that works in his favor as well, even after Simon's return.
Alex, whose favorite of the pod is your long shot of the week this week?
It's TJ McConnell.
The cockroach!
16% rostered in Yahoo, 8% in ESPN. Since the All-Star break, 9 points, 5 assists, 4 boards, 1.6 steals. Pacers are still trying to win, and McConnell is still a part of that. Indiana's on a 3-game week, so not as ideal as a 4-gamer, but there's just not – if you need assists and steals off the wire, there's almost nowhere else you can turn where you're this week probably going to get 15 assists and maybe 5 steals, especially with a good field goal percentage, 53% of the year for McConnell. So I think there's a good opportunity for him. I'm not sure Benedict Mathurin will be out quite long enough to really boost McConnell's minutes in the upcoming week, but it also doesn't really matter. I think you can just add McConnell as a streamer.
Yeah, I think Duarte's getting those minutes, but McConnell, the steals are crazy for McConnell.
I know.
We for newcomers to the pod, we call him the cockroach because you cannot kill TJ McConnell's NBA career. He will stick around forever, and he will always be a waiver wire suggestion of ours, even 3 years after his retirement.
Hey man, if Luke Ridnour can play till he's 33, McConnell might be able to play till he's 40.
One of these weeks he's going to have to be our cover guy, just for us.
There might be
for you.
Yeah. Okay, Ken, who is your long shot this week? It's actually a guy I considered.
Yeah, Devonte Graham of your terrible San Antonio Spurs. It's 30% managed on Yahoo, but only 9% on ESPN. He's a gunner. Last 8 games, over 14 points, but over 4.5 assists, plus 3 triples per game. Look, field goal percentage is terrible. That's been a career problem. That's just not a lately problem. He's always going to shoot about 37, 38% from the field. So realize you'll be sacrificing field goal percentage in exchange for points. But if you're in a points league, for instance, nice pickup. If you need threes, Graham's your guy. Plus the Spurs have 4 games. Sure, there's talk of Trey Jones coming back. He's going to play 2 minutes. They're going to sit him again. They're in the wobble for Wemby lottery. They're playing for ping pong balls. And Devonte Graham is just the bad veteran you want to play when you're tanking your season, baby.
The fact that we just had back-to-back suggestions of TJ McConnell and Devonte Graham, and neither one of those is the boring pickup of the week, amazes me. But Devonte Graham, back in his breakout season, 2019-2020 with Charlotte, he averaged 7.5 assists per game that year.
Yeah.
So yes, he definitely can help out in that category if he's getting the minutes. With Jones back healthy, Vassell healthy. Vassell re-entered the starting lineup in the most recent game, which moved Graham to the bench after 2 starts. I am interested to see if Jones gets moved back to the starting lineup and what that means for Graham's role moving forward. But with 4 games, absolutely worth a consideration.
Who's your guy?
Well, we talked about Okogie a little bit, so I do recommend him. He's rostered in 23% of Yahoo leagues, 5% of ESPN. I think he's going to be the primary option to scoop up with Durant out. And then Alex mentioned this guy earlier, Jordan Nwora has been playing pretty well for the Pacers. He has scored double-digit points in 6 consecutive games over that stretch, averaging 23.5 points, 23.5 minutes, 14.7 points, 4.3 rebounds, not doing much on the defense end, hitting 1.7 threes per game. Nwora's he's got talent. The Pacers really have a hole in their front court. They haven't really found that guy who I believe is their long-term possible stretch for. Nwora received a couple spot starts earlier this week, and now with Mathurin out for probably a few games, I do think Nwora is going to be one of the guys who benefits from that and sees that extra run. I also do think Nwora could get a more of a look as the starting four for Indiana down the stretch as well.
Pacers have been dying for Naismith to take over the power forward. It just hasn't happened. I don't know why they're not giving Nwora a shot at that.
Well, yeah, I mean, Naismith is 6'5". Let's stop pretending he's power forward.
Yeah, and they're playing him at the 4. Yeah, I know. It's
Nwora,
an interesting depth chart.
As a Bucks fan, I actually watched a decent amount of Nwora. I feel like I have like a small modicum of something to say on him. Like, I don't think that the Bucks gave him away. He clearly had talent. There were times where like you would see him play in person, and he looked great. Like, he was able to fit within the offense. I just think they wanted guys with more experience. Like, they would just rather have Jay Crowder out there. There's moments he'd fall asleep on defense. But for a Pacers team, like this particular Pacers team, yes, like I don't think this is a fluke. I think he can be this guy who's putting up like 14 and 5.
In 23 minutes per game. Like,
yes.
I legit think he could end up being a difference maker in like 12 and 10, maybe even 10 team leagues down the stretch here.
For sure. Okay, Ken, who is your boring pick?
My boring pick is Trey Murphy of the New Orleans Pelicans. Hang with me here. He's managed now on 58% of Yahoo leagues, only 20% of ESPN. Murphy was cruising along, had a great first 3 months of the season. But boy, did he have a bad February. They benched him a lot. But he's since turned it around the last 3 games. All starts, 16 points, over 4 rebounds, 2.6 stocks per game, while shooting 50% from the field and hitting over 3 triples a game. Pelicans do have 3 games this week. It'd be nicer if they had 4. But check to see if Trey Murphy was dropped in your league. And we know Zion, he may never play again, let alone this season. So there's plenty of minutes to be had in this Pelican lineup, where Valanciunas is also struggling as of late. Murphy's picking up the slack.
Murphy's just a quality fantasy ad. I agree. 58% roster. It's just add him.
He had a bad February, but he's back. He is back.
Try RotoWire free. Go to rotowire.com/try and unlock the paywall by putting in your email.